welcome to Northwest Brew Talk. I'm Mike Rizzo.
And I'm Michelle Rizzo.
And this is episode number 28. Each week we promote the Washington brewing industry by talking to those people involved in drinking Washington beer. With almost 300 breweries, we try to highlight as many as possible every episode. If you are new to the show, we suggest you check out our back catalog with some great interviews and lots of Washington beer. On today's show, we have an interview with Lowercase Brewing, our brew news and views, and local music from No Buffer.
If you have any comments or questions, make sure you send us an email to nwbrewtalk@gmail.com or on Twitter on NWBrewTalk and on Facebook at facebook.com/NWBrewTalk. If you like the show and want to support us, why not become a patron? With a donation, we offer everything from a guest hosting the show to a copy of our upcoming book, Washington Beer. Head over to nwbrewtalk.podbean.com for more details. To start the show, let's open a beer.
All right. This is Steam Train Porter from Snoqualmie Falls Brewing Company.
Snoqualmie Falls Brewing is located in Snoqualmie Falls, of course, and was founded in 1997.
They're one of the older ones.
One of the older ones. They're open 7 days a week, serve lunch and dinner, and they are family friendly. We visited the brewery last month and loved the space.
Yeah, it was very nice. Huge space. They expanded not too long ago.
Yeah, no.
And it was pretty big. Okay,
So,
this is a
Steam Train Porter. Wow, very nice
dark
looking.
Yep.
The website has a great description. The Steam Train Porter is a lip-smacking dark ale that's mellow and malty. The aroma is reminiscent of bittersweet dark chocolate and espresso. The caramel and roast malt flavors are exceptionally smooth. It's a medium-bodied with slightly sweet edge, but has a dry finish, making Steam Train Porter easy to drink and very easy to love. 5% ABV and 28 IBU.
Yeah, very low on that bitterness. It is lip smacking.
Always a good thing.
Yeah, for a porter, that is pretty good. Yeah.
Mike is not a big fan of porter, so
no, but I'm always
to
willing.
hear that it's good, it's always a nice thing.
Yeah, it has a nice head on it that does not dissipate right away, and it is super dark. You can barely see through it at all.
Yeah,
but yeah, I guess. You can taste some of that definitely that chocolate and espresso.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get that. It's good. All right, awesome. Now, onto our brew news and views.
Dick Cantwell was the lone wolf when it came to the sale of Elysian Brewing Company to Anheuser-Busch in January. As co-founder of the company, he was disappointed they couldn't find a better partner since he was instrumental in the Brewers Association and would have to abandon his relationship with the organization. After he resigned from Elysian in May, speculation as to what was his next move would be discussed. It didn't take long, though. He was hired by the Brewers Association for a newly created position as their quality ambassador. He'll be traveling the country to make presentations at state guild conferences. He'll work with the quality committee to help provide technical guidance to members on quality issues. In a statement, Dick said, "I am delighted to be given this opportunity to connect with friends old and new around the country, helping to instill the culture of quality in beer and in business as we all strive to stay passionate and committed to this movement we've all created." Good luck to him in his new role.
Awesome. Very nice for him.
Yeah.
And it's right up his alley, I think.
Absolutely.
Just working with other brewers. We recently talked about the new figures for craft beer sales in the state for the first 6 months of 2015. Things are looking rosy overall, but according to a report from MarketWatch.com, there are some figures we should look at. No matter how much craft beer gains on Anheuser-Busch, they are still king by a long shot. They control 45% of the entire market in the United States. Budweiser itself is losing market share, and they acknowledge they need to do something to attract new drinkers. Of the 3,400 breweries in the country, 1,400 are brew pubs not selling outside their doors. And another, of the other 1,900, they're fighting for a piece of 10% of the market. Imported beers, particularly Mexican ones, rose 6.9% in 2014, also biting into that share. So the amount of Mexican beer sold in grocery stores is equal to all craft beer sold in supermarket and convenience stores. So that's a big deal. So all those other craft breweries are fighting for a little piece of the pie.
Absolutely.
Truth be told, only 9 companies account for 90% of all beer sold in the United States. That includes Miller Coors, Constellation Brands, Heineken, and all of these have other brands underneath them too. It's not just one brand. Pabst, which includes Washington brands Olympia and Rainier, Boston Beer Company and its Sam Adams, North American Breweries, which includes Pyramid, Magic Hat, and others, and Diageo North America, the Craft Brew Alliance, which is Widmer Brothers, Redhook, and others, Gambrinus, and Duvel Mortgat, which recently bought Firestone Walker. So if you really like your local brewery, support it. Buy their beer. Tell your friends. Many of these small breweries will never be more than your neighborhood watering hole. For some of them, that's just fine. But for others, they wouldn't mind being the next Elysian or Firestone Walker. So don't be surprised when your neighborhood pub sells out.
Several events are coming up. Tomorrow, Thursday, August 6th, the Post Alley Hoolie will be taking place at Pike Place Market. The Post Alley project was created to bring vibrancy to Post Alley, which is connected to Pike Brewing Company and other businesses. Pike added a new entrance, and from 5 to 9 p.m. there will be a block party showcasing the food, drink, music, and talent in the area. Sounds like a great time if you're in that area. This Saturday in Mount Vernon is Brewfest at the Skagit. The event will help support the Lincoln Theater and highlight the new Skagit Riverwalk Park. And finally, Saturday the 15th is the Everett Craft Beer Festival in Everett.
All right. And according to WashingtonBeerBlog.com, Bellevue Brewing Company is brewing a new series of beers for a classic rock station, KZOK, in Seattle. And I went to their website, and it's all over the place. The first beer being released is actually tomorrow, August 6th, at a special party at the brewery. Classic Rock Amber will be the first beer in the series, and proceeds will benefit local charities, starting with Northwest Harvest. And Bellevue's beer distributor, Columbia Distributing, will also donate a portion of proceeds to the Ronald McDonald House. Danny Bonaducci, Sarah, and the other DJs from KZOK are scheduled to make an appearance at the brewery, so it should be a cool time. And that is this week's Brew News and Views.
Welcome back to Northwest Brew Talk. If you want to submit news to Northwest Brew Talk, send us an email to nwbrewtalk@gmail.com. Or if you have not yet subscribed to our podcast, why not do it now? It's free, available anywhere you listen to podcasts, including iTunes, Podbean, and Stitcher. If you like us, a review and rating would be really appreciated. But most importantly, make sure you tell your friends about Northwest Brew Talk.
All right, and now let's talk to Chris Smith from Lowercase Brewing. We're hanging out here with Chris Smith from Lowercase Brewing. How are you?
Good, man. How's it going?
Going great. So
all right.
We're, I think this is the keg toss behind us going on.
Yeah, for sure.
So we got that going on. But so we're going to talk about a little bit about the brewery.
Yeah.
You're one of the co-founders.
Absolutely. Yep. Been around for about a year and a half now.
Okay.
Located in South Park.
Okay.
So my favorite question to ask people is, they're like, where are you located? I'm like, South Park. They're like, cool. And then I'm like, do you know where that is? And they're like, no. So South Park, for those of you guys that don't know, is right next to Georgetown. So South Seattle, still in the city of Seattle, but neighborhood of South Park.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So did you have a brewery experience before starting the brewery?
No, so I was a home brewer.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was a home brewer for a couple years, and then and then basically turned it into a business.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So, what prompted you to want to get into doing this?
You know, I guess I kind of ended up in brewing on accident. Like so I have a background in culinary arts.
Okay.
So I used to cook professionally, and so I had a pretty good understanding of recipes and like how things were assembled. And then I kind of geek out on the science stuff.
Okay.
So it's a combination thereof, right? It's that art meets science piece.
Right.
And so I'm originally from Arizona.
All right.
And so when I moved to Seattle for my job, I used to work for Starbucks.
Okay.
I decided I needed to learn two things if I wanted to be a Northwest dude. And that was I need to learn how to sail and I need to learn how to make beer. So I went after both. I sail now and I make beer. And so I started making beer, and I knew I always wanted to own my own business, but I just didn't know what it was. And so those two things just kind of came together.
Nice.
And so the beer started tasting pretty good, and we started trying to figure out how can we approach this industry in a way that is smaller scale, right? Which is happening a lot more these days. But I mean, this industry has been dictated by scale for a very, very long time. And so now you're starting to see that breweries can open with smaller scale with a focus on margins versus the capital investment required to start a 15-barrel, 30-barrel brew house is pretty huge.
Right.
So, yeah.
So how big is yours?
So we're on a 3-barrel hot side,
Okay.
and then we're on a 7-barrel cold side.
Okay.
Yeah, so we did about 120 barrels last year, and are estimating that we'll probably do about 250 this year. So doubling down year over year, which for us is great.
Yeah. So how many times do you brew? How often?
So right now we're pretty much brewing about twice a week. So right now we only have 3 fermenters.
Right.
So that's so
Right.
it's 2 weeks, 2 days a week, and for 2 weeks in a row, and then we'll take a break and then go after it again. So
Okay, great.
yeah.
So you decided you wanted to get in this, and where did the lowercase come from?
Yeah, so the name Lowercase, I'll give you the short story, but basically one of the things that I think that breweries could do a better job with is linking the name of their brewery to the name of their product.
Okay.
And right now, there's a disconnect, right? So you might have Steve's Brewing, and his beer might be a Domino Snowman Pale Ale. There's a story there for sure, but it's not accessible to consumers, right? So I wanted to find something that had a theme. And so for us, the alphabet represents a pretty decent theme. And so we don't name our beers necessarily. They just basically have a lowercase letter in the front and then capital letters after that.
Okay.
So think iPod, right? But IPA.
Okay.
Right? ESB, same way, right? So we don't have an arbitrary name for the beer. It is what it is. And then the other thing, lowercase to us represents a commitment to quality, kind of. So lowercase letters really just carry content. They're not concerned with treatment. They're not slanty. They're not bold. They're not trying to jump out at you. They just literally carry a message.
Okay.
And to us, breweries should be about the beer and not their branding, not any other external elements. Make awesome beer, and that's what you should be doing, right? So that's kind of what the name means to us.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah, if you make good beer, people will remember it.
For sure, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
so now going with the name thing, have you come across any problems with naming?
No, not really. There's a couple breweries that have named a beer lowercase. Like there's a Burnside Brewery in Oregon that has a lowercase IPA, but it's the whole name, right? Lowercase IPA. But that's the only name. That's the only issue. We had one customer ever has told us, I think you guys are being. What did he say? He meant it as like lowercase being less important than uppercase letters.
Okay.
So he looked at it as kind of a negative thing. He's like, I really like your beer. I think you guys should call yourself Uppercase Brewing. Give yourself a little more credit. And well, I totally appreciate that, right? I explained it in the same way. I was like, this is what lowercase means to us. It's not because we don't think that we're good enough. It's because here's the reasons why we did it, right? Which I thought it was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna rename the brewery. That's a good idea. We'll rename it.
For sure.
Start over.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's funny. So, what was the first beer that you guys brewed?
So the first brew that I ever brewed, like from a homebrew standpoint, was a clone of Rogue Hazelnut Nectar Brown.
Okay.
Have you had that one?
No.
So Rogue makes a beer and they put hazelnut extract in it, and it's a brown. It's like a nut brown. It is phenomenal.
Right.
So if you haven't tried it, you should try it. So that was our first one, and then after that, ESB was right up on the list.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so ESBs were just a beer that I really liked. I like that red style of beer. It's not too light like a pale. It's not too hoppy like an IPA. It kind of hits that middle.
Right.
But it has this savoriness to it, and this like. I try to explain it as like back-end hops, right? So if you think about IPAs, kind of hit you with the hops right up front, right? And then hopefully the body of the beer helps smooth it out in the back end. ESB, the malt hits you first, and the hops hit you second.
Okay.
And that's what I really love about that style is it's super complex, and it's very layered. So yeah, so that was probably our first recipe that we nailed was the ESB.
Nice.
Yeah.
So when you started homebrewing, did you start with extract?
Yeah, yep. I started with extract, but because of my background in the culinary field, I brewed 2 extract beers, and I quickly was like, this is not for me.
Okay.
So I went from my first 2 extract brews to my third brew was all grain, and then my fourth brew was all grain and kegging.
Oh, wow.
So I was on the accelerated plan. So I figured if I was going to invest a little bit in the hobby, might as well invest in it. So I got a kegerator, I got us a couple corny kegs. And so that allowed me to start to work on my own recipe development really, really quickly versus, brewing clones for a couple years.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. So, ESB, one of the ones that you really like.
Yeah.
Now, do you guys have any specific signature, or would this be?
I would say, yeah. I mean, our focus at Lowercase is really on drinkability.
Okay.
Right. That's our goal. We don't try to aim for beers that are either too high in ABV or too kind of out there, right? I think there's a lot of cool breweries that do that, but our thing is more like, let's go for those core awesome beers and let's nail them.
Okay.
And so that's kind of what we try to do, right? So like our IPA, for instance, it's only 70 IBUs, which, 10 years ago, 70 IBUs would be really, really hoppy. But today, right, it's not very hoppy at all. It's almost, there's some APAs that are probably just as hoppy as our IPA. So but we focus on the floral and the late hops and the dry hops for that IPA. So we actually turned a lot of people that come and they're like, oh, well, I don't like IPAs. Okay, try ours, right?
Yeah.
Because IPAs can be super delicious and they don't have to be hop bombs.
Right.
And so, like, the Pacific Northwest, we love our hops up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love a hoppy IPA as much as the next guy, but I also like a beer that I can have 2 or 3 of and not, have to call a cab. So.
Now, going with that, are there any specific hops that you like to use?
I'm actually really a fan of the C hops. I'm in the classic categories, right? So like Cascade, Centennial. We just made a spring seasonal with our red with Chinook, which is a super kind of almost danky hop, which is great, right? Like I love a hoppy red, like a Northwest red ale. One of my favorites when we were making the recipe was Deschutes Red Chair. Yeah, that was one of the ones that I was like, this is a really good beer. I want to try to make something like that. And so we ended up using Chinook and Columbus. Okay. So both that kind of real dank, piney, resiny, but not too bitter, right? Like still letting the hops shine.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so that's I'm a core. I don't get into the. I'm definitely not into Citra. I'm definitely not into Belma. I don't really love tropical flavors, so I try to stay with those kind of core florally hops.
So the there's something there I lost, but that's okay. We'll get back. So that goes back to you want to brew beers that are drinkable.
Yeah.
So you're not looking at like sours and things like that then.
Nope. So we'll do some interesting things from time to time if we have the ability.
Right.
But really, we want to just kind of, like I said, hit our. So we have at any given time 5 core beers pouring at the tap room plus 1 seasonal.
Okay.
So we try to cover the bases. So we have a pale, right? So those light drinkers. We have an ESB for that kind of mid-level malt complexity. We have an IPA for the hoppy ones, right? We have a brown for the dark beer drinkers, and then we have a Mexican lager, which is it's not really a lager. It's brewed with a lager yeast, but brewed more like a steam beer. So lager yeast, ale-like temperatures, and it produces a nice light, crisp result. And we call that our Mexican lager because it's a Vienna-style lager, kind of like a major commercial Mexican beer.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So.
But again, drinkable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. So that's kind of our that's kind of our game and something that we that's just important to us, right?
So I think you've kind of answered. Your goal as a brewery is not to it's to have beers that are drinkable, but I'm guessing you want to grow.
For sure.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah. No. So one of our goals is to make sure that when you get a tasting tray, right? And when you come to the brewery and you get a tasting tray, that all those beers are good, right? And they represent a good style. So there's breweries that'll put out 300 beers in a year.
Right.
And that's awesome, right? And some of them are killer. Some of them are probably not so great, right? It's experimentation. And so when I think about growth, I want to be, in a few years, I want to be a brand that's embraced and respected by Seattle, but not necessarily outside of Seattle, right? That's not. I don't necessarily want to have national distribution. Maybe even distribute outside of Washington State.
Okay.
Right. I want to be one of those places where when your friends that drink beer come to Seattle, you're like, you got to go down to Lowercase, right? These are the guys. This is one of the breweries that typifies this area and is important and respected. And that's kind of what I'm aiming for.
Nice.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
Well, yeah, but that's a goal, and to go with that, there are a lot of breweries opening in Seattle.
Sure.
Seattle alone has more than I think I read more than 10 states.
Yeah, I think we're last number I saw was 50.
Yeah.
But I can name 5 off the top of my head that weren't included in that list.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so we're damn near 60.
Yeah, that's in the city of Seattle.
Right.
So that makes a lot of neighborhood breweries.
For sure.
And so do you see that? You have a lot of customers that are neighborhood?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, and what's interesting is you also have like the consumers, like Washington State beer consumers are awesome. And they will drive for beer, right? And so we're like not Ballard. It is a trek. You gotta make a journey. But there's now 3 breweries in South Park, right? Okay. So there's Lowercase, there's Tin Dog Brewing, and then there's Redhook Brewing. So that's helping to kind of cement the neighborhood. We got Big Al's right up the way. We got 2 beers down the street. Schooner Exact, Counterbalance, right? So we're starting to fill out the south end of the brewery scene, but it's definitely neighborhood based, and that's what I love about it, right? One of the companies that I would love to emulate. And take this with a grain of salt, but is Elysian, right? Like, not in the fact that, not in the fact that they got bought out by Anheuser-Busch, but in the fact that they were able to create a pretty large brand, but they had this really cool small feeling about it, right? Tangletown felt like Tangletown. Soto felt totally different. Capitol Hill felt different than that, and so they were able to create this like decently sized brand within the city that was super well respected, but they were able to maintain some sort of character, right?
Right.
And not all their places just had this like flat, like, we are Elysian, right? Like, I thought that was really cool.
That's probably what upset people.
Yeah.
Because you can understand from some of the owners' business
absolutely,
it's
100%.
Buyout is money. Right?
Yeah, right.
And they made it to that point, but like you're saying, these are my local brewery, and all of a sudden, they're bought by the big guy that's like the evil one.
For sure.
And that's probably exactly what it was, So.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing, right? So, like, I want to get to that place where we have that reputation within the Seattle, right? Of like, this is a Seattle brewery, and we're proud of these. We're proud of this, and we'll support it.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. So, did you guys enter the beer awards?
We did. Yep, we did. I'm pretty sure our beer got torn apart. So. I don't know yet. So we entered it into the IPA category, which apparently 72 entries, 10% of the competition was IPAs.
Okay.
Right. So, and I knew that.
Understand.
Yeah. And the thing about I am where I'm at with beer awards is that it is they're cool and they're important, but at the same time, like, I want to make beer that people like, and beer that people like doesn't necessarily equal beer that wins competitions. Right. Now sometimes they cross, right? Sure. And I think there's great examples of that. Rubens, cleaned up, right? Awesome job. Love Adam. Think that cat's awesome. And so he's figured out a way to make those things stack. But ESB, we get consistent feedback that people love this beer. We sent it to the competition last year and it just got destroyed. Didn't even make it past the first round, right? IPA, I'm waiting for the feedback sheets because I love getting feedback, like actual feedback on my beer that is from a professional criticism standpoint. Always welcoming of that kind of feedback. So I will learn whatever I can from it, but at the same time, I'm not super disappointed that we didn't win an award, right? It is what it is.
Right.
So I think it plays a critical piece, but it's not the most important thing. To me, the most important thing is the people that drink in your beer have a smile on their face and they're like, you know what, I like your beer.
Yeah. Kind of like the entertainment world. Sometimes a movie gets a horrible critic rating and it's a box office smash.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep.
In the end, it matters what the customer likes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really.
Right. Those are the people, right? And that's that's the thing, right? I mean, back to your comment about there are going to be probably 60 plus breweries in Seattle proper,
right.
like within the year. What makes Lowercase different, right? And to us, it's one is the beer quality, and then two, it's the relationship that we have with our customers, right?
Okay.
That's super important.
Okay.
And so I think we've tried to do something a little bit different in the fact that we vend in Washington State farmers markets.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we're now in 9. And what's interesting is last I heard, so of the 200 plus breweries in Washington State, I'm pretty sure 15 or 16 have actually applied to vend in farmers markets. Right, so that takes your competition set from massive to pretty little. And it's been such an awesome opportunity for us because we get to have that relationship with our customers, right? Every single day. It's not like, oh, hey, I'm going to sell a keg to a bar and I'm going to have the bartender have that relationship over my beer. We get to, my employees, get to say, yeah, we made this. Do you like it? Right? Get the feedback right there.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah, that's, to see that small number have applied to do that.
Yeah,
definitely interesting.
For sure, and I would highly recommend it for any brewery, right? I think that there's limiting factors in the fact that form factor is an issue because you can't pour draft at farmers markets.
Okay.
So if the Washington State Liquor Control Board is listening, we should change that.
Okay.
And then the other thing is you have to have one product. Washington State farmers markets require to have one product that's made entirely in Washington of Washington State ingredients if you can. Which we have a pale with a Washington certified base malt, so that's how we do that. Have
you tried to do any all Washington?
So that's the closest we got. So because of our size, I can't really be that selective in my supply chain and be like, hey, hop farm, right? So we've contracted our hops like everybody else, and so we use Cascade hops in our pale, and 92% of all the world's Cascade hops come from Washington. Okay. So we feel pretty confident, but at the same time, I can't.
Might come from Oregon or something.
I can't say definitively. Yeah.
No, all those 2 ones are from Oregon.
Yeah, exactly. We're out. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. That's good. So, obviously, this is the big festival. Have you guys do other ones?
Yeah, we try to do. Our festival schedule is probably we try to do one a quarter.
Okay.
Right. And again, just trying to start to get our name out there, right? We're still really, really new in the scene, and we have new customers coming in every single day, even from our own neighborhood.
Oh yeah.
Right. The other night we had a company that makes these mounts that right down the street. We had 10 people in there that had never ever been in there, and they're like, I didn't know you guys were here.
Yeah.
So that's happening, and I think that's a big role that festivals play. But at the same time, it's also we're pretty restrained on our supply, and that's been one of our issues. So last year we would have loved to come, but we didn't have the quantity of beer required to come, right? So because to be here, it's they want 2 barrels of each beer they're pouring. That way you won't run out.
Right.
Yeah.
So because of those limiting factors, you guys do you bottle or can or anything?
So we don't bottle, but we do 32-ounce aluminum cans. Okay. So it's called a crowler.
Okay.
Oscar Blues, right? So we have renamed them. I don't really love the word crowler. So we renamed them Low Boys.
Okay.
So it's 32-ounce aluminum growler. We fill them via draft. We purge them with CO2 and then anneal the tops right in the brewery. And that's what we sell at farmers markets.
Okay.
Yeah, so that works great because it's lighter, it's recyclable. People don't have to worry about. One of the things that we would hear is that people wanted more beer at farmers market, but they forgot their growler, right? And then they're like, well, I have a cabinet full of 8. I don't need another one. So then they'll skip us that day, right? And so now this gives us that opportunity. So we can in the non-traditional sense, right? Okay. By no means a canning line,
right?
But it's a way for us to package our beer and get it into the farmers markets, and it's a really cool technology. I love it.
Yeah. So would you be looking at getting bigger fermenters?
Yeah,
down the road?
Absolutely. Yeah. So next for us is we're gonna pick up another. So right now we're only at 3 fermenters. So we're gonna pick up another 2 or 3. Right. That'll help round out our system. That'll probably get us to 500-ish barrels, and then we're gonna have to make a choice. if it's up to me and we're able to gather the interest from a capital standpoint, I want to go 15.
Okay.
Right, and that way we can go, because that gives us a good spot to grow from. Right, if we go 15, we can start off by half batching if we need to into 7s. Right,
because you mean 15 barrels.
15
right?
barrels.
Right.
Yep.
Just
Sorry. Yep. Sorry. I talk in code.
It's okay.
15 barrels. Yep. And then the good news is that then we can grow into 15 barrel fermenters, and then easily double that into 30s. Right, and that would take us probably 5 years down the road if we can make a good investment in the next year and a half. That will put us well into the brewery scene, into the 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 barrel range.
Okay.
Which is great. Like I would love to. I'm sure the bass is awesome for the microphone. I would love to have that, like, somewhere around 10,000 barrels in a couple years. I think that'd be a pretty good spot.
Yeah.
And then I don't necessarily know if we need to go any bigger than that.
And growth is going that way?
Oh, for sure, yeah. So year over year right now, like we've doubled our production. As far as like our sales go, we're 2.5 times right now the traffic that we've seen.
Nice.
Granted, we've opened up more points of distribution, right? So we were in 5 farmers markets last summer. Now we're in 9, right? So that obviously helps, but we're seeing a lot more traffic through the tap room these days. So so everything's pointing in the right direction, which is an upward angle.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, going back to the whole Seattle, 60 breweries, 200, probably close to 300 in the state.
Yeah.
What do you see? Do you see there being a point where there's more start dropping off?
Yeah. I mean, I think they're probably, right? We will reach a point of saturation. Yeah. Now, I don't think it's coming anytime soon, right? Based on the demand that we see, like we have people every week reaching out trying to get kegs from us that we can't supply, right? So the demand is almost insatiable. Yeah. So I would say it's going to take another couple of years. However, with the increased competition is going to come increased focus on quality.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I think if people start getting into this business for other reasons than making good beer, like they just want to make some money, I think we'll probably start to see those fade. And maybe they won't close, but I don't think they'll grow.
Right.
Right. So I think that's going to be the difference. Is you're going to have a lot of breweries that open, and then you're going to have a few breweries that grow, and then you're going to have a few breweries that get big.
Right.
And then you're going to have a few that just kind of stay the same size, right? Yeah. And I think that probably speaks to quality, business strategy, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. And just trying to, with you, just trying to concentrate on making good drinkable beers, you're
absolutely
probably on that path if everything goes well.
I mean, yeah, I think so. It looks like we're moving in that direction.
Right.
And it's just, I mean, honestly, like the cool thing about breweries, and as you grow, you actually make better beer.
Okay.
Right? When you can start to afford better equipment,
right,
and you can start to introduce better techniques and better ingredients, right? The results are just better. Mm-hmm. And so I'm really proud of our beer now. I'm super amped to what our beer is going to be in 1 or 2 years, right? So like I'm a fan. Obviously, I make it, so maybe I'm a little bit biased.
Well, yeah, but that's good. You gotta love your stuff. If you don't love it, then
well, that's the thing, right? Like back to the competition angle, right? Like we make beer that we love and that we want to drink, and that's necessarily not to a style.
Right.
And if you don't brew exactly to a style, probably not going to win the competition.
Yeah.
Right, but that's okay.
But again, if the customer likes it, that's the bottom line.
Absolutely.
That's really all that matters.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Chris, thanks very much for taking the time with us today.
Yeah, my pleasure, Mike. Thanks, man.
Great.
All right, thanks to Chris for joining us today. Nice interview from the Washington Brewers Festival. And since it is the beginning of the month, we're going to try another beer. We messed up a little bit because we didn't get an Oregon or an Idaho beer this time, but we got something pretty close. We've got craft brewed brown ale from Kirkland. So Michelle's going to tell you a little bit about it.
Kirkland craft brewed brown ale from Costco is brewed by Gordon Biersch in San Jose, California.
So that's not too far away.
Not too far. 5% ABV and 23 IBUs. This dry ale is characterized by its rich color and nutty brown hues. 8 types of specialty malts used in this beer produce flavors of almond, walnut, and molasses with toasted malt undertones. Its maltiness is well balanced by aromas of citrus and earth produced by hops of the Pacific Northwest and England.
That's pretty mild. Pretty mild. It's dark amber color there, and not a bad flavor. Did we have an IBU on that? Oh yeah, 23 IBUs and 5% ABV.
5% ABV.
Oh. Yeah, that's pretty good. Actually, you could probably have a couple of these because they aren't bad at all. So that's from Costco, produced by Gordon Biersch out of
Took a little digging to find out who is brewing.
Yeah, out of California. All right, and as if you don't know, all the Gordon Biersches have local breweries, and they all produce their own, some of their own beers. And I know the Seattle one has won some awards for some of their beers.
Yeah.
All right, now we'll be right back after a local music break from No Buffer.
Leave the gun. Technical knowledge.
Is honest. Punk rock on the West Coast is hard. If you think you can kill punk rock on the West Coast, then you must be a fucking retard. West Coast punk, 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 West Coast punk. The first time we heard Matthew Freeman, we thought his bass possessed punk rock like a demon. We skated to Milo's to smoke weed at lunch, and either eat acid or get super drunk. But that one time on Molly, that one guy named Tory told me the Descendants were boring, and I kicked his ass. Punk rock on the West Coast is honest. Punk rock on the West Coast is hard. If you think you can kill punk rock on the West Coast, then you must be a fucking retard. West Coast punk, 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 West Coast punk. Soul song on a Schecter, but I gotta get signed to Bad Records. I don't wanna be another internet heckler, but I gotta get signed to Bad Records. Don't get me wrong, I play this soul song on a Schecter, but I gotta get signed to Bad Records. I don't wanna be another internet heckler, but I gotta get signed to Bad Records.
That was West Coast Punk from No Buffer. You can check them out at nobuffer.bandcamp.com. If you want to have your music played on Northwest Brew Talk, contact us today.
All right, let's try another beer because we can never have enough beer.
No.
This one's a little different. Georgetown Brewing. They do not bottle or can or anything else, so you got to go find it. And we did. We found some Lucille IPA, and I got a growler of it, and Michelle's going to tell you about it.
Georgetown Brewing is located in Seattle, and as Mike just said, it's a production-only brewery. They do have a retail space where you can fill growlers, and that is open Monday through Saturday.
Yeah, we're going to try and get some of these beers that are production-only, that they don't can or bottle, and try and get them on the show this way.
They did say on their website that canning or bottling is not out of the question. It's just not there yet. So something to look forward to.
They are this after the Elysian and Redhook. They're number 3, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
It's very citrusy.
Lucille IPA, floral, citrusy, and awesome, according to their website. They may be a little biased. I don't know. Anything so innocent and built like that just gotta be named Lucille. Malts are two-row and caramel. Hops, Columbus, Centennial, Amarillo, Simcoe, Cascade. English Ale East, ABV of 7% and 85 IBUs.
Okay, Lucille. I never really looked it up. Lucille was either B.B. King or Chuck Berry's guitar. I think it was B.B. King's. I bet you that's what that is. Yes, very citrusy, and this is a good IPA.
It smells good.
Yeah, it's a good IPA. I like it.
I want you to give me fresh beer. You serious?
This week's fresh beer is from Redhook. It's called False Start Session IPA, a session beer for those...
False Start.
A session beer, for those unacquainted, is an easy drinking beer that you could have a couple of and not get hammered on. False start is a football term. With football season just starting, it might be a good beer to check out. False Start Session IPA is a dry hopped beer with a 4% ABV. In bars, the False Start tap handle will feature an air horn.
All right. And that brings us to the end of this episode of Northwest Brew Talk.
Make sure you tune in next week when we chat with White Wall Brewing.
This show is produced and edited by me, with engineering help from Michelle Rizzo.
If you want to contact us, you can email us at nwbrewtalk@gmail.com or give us a call at 541-595-TALK.
Until next time, I'm Mike Rizzo.
And I'm Michelle Rizzo.
Stay hopping, my friends.